G'day everyone, today I'm going to be changing out the fuel filter on my 2010 Mitsubishi Outlander. In order to do that, I'm just going to be using this Ryco filter. It's a Z1125, so this is what you'll need. It's a pretty big kit. So for these, they're in-tank filter, so it's a bit of a pain in the bum to get to, but you know, it is what it is. Yeah, we'll get into it. I'll show you what's needed. It's coming up now. The dark interior in here will make filming some of this bit maybe a little bit difficult, but first off, we've got to lift all this carpet up. So there's a couple of little things we need to know. So this little the spare wheel cover, that just pops up, so we'll get that out of the way. And we've got our tie down points there either side, so there's just going to be there's just a screw just in the middle of it, right there, so we'll pop that out. So the cover for the fuel pump should be down under here somewhere. Okay, with that carpet up now, so that was just a bit of work just peeling out from under the trim, so it's probably going to be a bit of stuffing about when we put it all back down, just to make it all neat. But you can see right up front under the where the left hand side passenger is, we've got this cover here. Now you can tell it's just a silver cover with a cable hanging out of it, but it is stuck down, Sikaflex down, something like that. So I'm just going to use a screwdriver to try and, there's a couple little slots here either side, to just try and gently lever that up, which comes up without too much effort there, luckily. So I don't know if this filter has ever been changed in this car. It's got 220,000 kilometers on it by now, so yeah, it is, you could argue, probably well overdue if this is the original. Okay, so with that cover off, if we just pull this plug out, that will allow us to get this cover all the way out. So you've got two plugs here, one either side. There we go, we can just get that cover out of the way, make things nice and easy for us. Now we probably want to be keeping things kind of clean here where we can. So I'm just going to give this a bit of a quick wipe up, and we'll get some of that dirt and dust away. Okay, so with that cover off, cleaned up now, we're just going to pull out this fuel line. I've slipped my nail. Anyway, there's always some injury. So for this quick release, you can just get a screwdriver just under this green part of the clip, just push the connector in. Now just bear in mind there may be a bit of fuel pressure in here, so just going to gently lever this clip up just to release it. There you go, and you can see it's up, and we'll just unclip and see there's just that little tiny bit of pressure there. So that's released and out of the way. So we'll just slide that over there, so it's just out of the way, and we can get this row of bolts out, and let's pull it out. So these are an 8mm nut, and we'll just crack each one off. And of course, one's at the front. Oh, that one right under there, I don't think I'm going to be able to get my socket onto it, so we'll have to figure out just to get a ring spanner on there or something, I think. So that front one there is going to be a pain. You can just get the socket on. There is enough room for it to work, so happy days there. So if you're enjoying this video content so far, please don't forget to like and subscribe if you're not already subscribed, of course. Hey, if you don't even have this type of vehicle or any of the types of vehicles I work on, consider subscribing anyway, because there's a lot of DIY sort of basic mechanical principles in what I do. So you should be able to figure out how to do a lot of jobs on your vehicle, even if it's not the same as what I'm working on. Oh, of course, always one that is extremely tight all the way to the end of the thread, isn't there? So yeah, and if as well as liking and subscribing and all that stuff, if you really enjoy what I'm doing and you want to give me a tip, then please throw a super thanks in. So I thought that was an earth strap there from my angle that I was looking at, but it is just a blank plug. So obviously for something else that's on other markets, whatever. That top ring off, and then this should just pop straight out. I'm just going to wipe some of that fuel out so I don't drop dirt in the tank there before I go too much further. And now there's obviously going to be a bit of fuel that you may drop within your car doing this, but this looks like it needs to come pretty much straight up. There we go. And she's pretty tight to fit through that hole. And looks like we've also got the level sensor to contend with. So we're just going to let some of that fuel drain back. And alright, up and out. As you can see, it's with the new and the old. So we've got all our new seals and crap. Right, so there's our main rubber seal to go on the top, so that can be just set aside. Got a pickup sock, some other little bits and pieces, and a few little O-rings, and a spare clip. So set that aside, and obviously that is the filter part, so it's a pretty small filter really. So anyway, we need to swap all this top part out with that one, and obviously throw the pump in the new one. All our level sensor stuff, we need to move that over as well. So let's start stripping all this down. So I'm just going to unplug our main plug first, because it's an obvious thing to do. And there's going to be a bit of fuel here, so I'll get rid of that. There's one plug, there's another plug on the other side. So just on the side for that one. That one's a lot easier to get out. Alright, so let's just pay attention to where everything is as we're pulling it apart. So we've got a little clip here. Got this spring that holds it all into place. There's only the one clip on this one side with a spring. I'll try and get you a closer view where I can, so I'm just going to try and use my little pick just to pull this clip straight up. Now we've got a spare one, so it doesn't matter if we lose it. So if we just put a bit of pressure on there, look, there we go, she's popped off. Easy as that. Okie dokie, so with that clip off, this part here can come off now. I've got that clip there, looks like it may unclip to let the pump unit out. There we go, so that whole lot comes out like so. So you can see how much dirt, or how dark that main filter is. So, or that filter sock should I say. This bottom sock here has just some clips here, so we can just get a flat blade screwdriver under and pull the sock off. So we'll just, now we've got a replacement one of these, so it doesn't really matter too much if the sock itself gets busted, or, but yeah, pays to check with your kit, see what you've got, what you may or may not need, could vary. clip just right there. And try not to stab yourself in the hand, because with fuel everywhere, it kind of hurts getting fuel inside your skin. There we go, and there's our fuel pump, so that needs to be changed over to the new one. So we'll just unclip that and we should be able to pull that all the way out, that's fine. We've got this little fuel line here, so this is slightly different on the one that I've got. So it comes to this clip back here, so it just slides up out of there. And there we go, that's separate, so that's the main bit that we keep. So you can see on the one that I've got there, that's just that slight difference in the way that fuel line is routed. Hopefully that shouldn't create too much of an issue for us, but we'll figure it out. So looking at this as well, we need to swap this little piece over into here. So I'm just going to gently wedge that out. I don't know if there's anything else holding that in apart from that that whole filter sock setup. Doesn't seem to be. It seems to be moving pretty easy. Probably just an O-ring, I would imagine. There we go. Try not to lose it. And there's that one O-ring that we'll need to replace. That doesn't seem to be part of any of the bits we've got, so you know, it is what it is. We'll just throw that back in there. Now let's try and get this filter sock off the pump. So I can't see any obvious clips that are holding this in place, so I think it's just maybe some O-rings. There we go, so that just pops itself off. There's no real O-rings or anything that I can see, it just seems to wedge itself in. Let's see how the new one just slides straight back on. That just pushes straight on, no worries there. And we can throw that up into the new filter. Okay, so here's the problem. The new filter that I've bought doesn't appear to be the right one, so the length here is shorter than this one by about 10 mil. So you can see when I try and put the fuel pump in, that's about as basically all the way home up here, and it's still got another 10 mil left to go, so that is a pain in the bum. Okay, so in regards to this filter being too short, now interestingly, this Outlander being a 2010, there is a bit of a year changeover. So I've got the Z1125 filter. The one that I actually need is a Z923. So I'm going to shoot off to my local-ish auto parts store, and we'll pick another one up, and hopefully we'll get this back on the road shortly. So I'll be back real quick. Be 5 seconds for you. We're back with the new filter, and I'll open this one up, but already I can see that that is slightly different. So, well, matches the current one we have. So let's rip this out and we'll get into it. Alright, so we've got the new filter set up now. This line here between the two is a little bit different. As you can see, it's got this little Duvalaki here, which I was a bit sort of concerned about at first, but the original unit here has a little spot for it to slot into here, so you know, maybe there's something's been changed at some point. We'll just run with this and see how it goes. But anyhow, we'll start assembling all this back together, I think. So this one had a little cover inside the filter sock. So we'll stick that back together. So it just pushes on like so. Oh, I had the memory card fill up, so now I forgot where I was. Right, so we've got the filter sock on, another little plastic bit here, so that one can go. We've got a new one in the kit, so that can go on. So we probably should have an O-ring of some description, probably that one there. So I've got this little, so probably I would assume a pressure regulator. So we've got new O-ring to go on that. That one's on, that can go in place, puts in, and the fuel pump can slide in. There we go. Slide in place. Need to not forget our wiring. So that can slide up onto this little clip here. So that I won't. This little we can spin that around however it needs to go. That's kind of most of this stuff ready to go. Not too sure whether where that O-ring slots in. I haven't come across that one yet, so we should be able to throw this pump back in place now. I just need to make sure this little outside ring or clip here is sitting in the right spot. So you can see where it goes here. There's a little cutout just in that part right there. It sits in with that little slot there, and these should sit over on those little tabs in here. Now we're just going to line it up the right way. It can only sort of slot in one way really. Try not to get your wiring pinched. Just got to make sure these clips go in properly. Is probably the biggest challenge here with two hands. Alright, that's it in place. Now, this is probably something I should have thought about on the way through, but that sit in there. Just pushes down like so. There we go. So we'll throw the new spring on that long side. So it needs to spin around that way. Short side into the short side here. Long side into this long side. So just push it down and get this little clip that we pulled off earlier back in place now. Mainly just some pliers. So just a set of pliers, just to squeeze that should do the trick. There we go. Okay, with those done, it's just a matter of replugging in our connectors. Fuel pump first, level sensor one after that, and that's that unit ready to go back in. Okay, so now we can drop our pump back into the tank. So we'll get that level sender in, get that. Oh, I'm missing something here, aren't I? O-ring gasket. Yeah, don't forget that one. It's just a little bit easier if this seal comes up. And it's definitely easier if that fuel line doesn't want to keep dropping in place. spin the orientation around. Now this top part is on the spring, so it'll put pressure down and keep that unit on the bottom of the tank. So that's why it sits up a little high, which you may or may not be able to see that gap. Now this has two little tabs here or two little pins that slot over the top ring, so line those up, and then we just need to line up the bolt holes, making sure your seal is in place, and we can just push this down and bolt up these bolts. Alright, so there's a little trick. I was just struggling to get this top lid down flush, so just pull that seal up into place before you try and push it down. That's heaps better. So it just wasn't sitting right, and obviously just pinching it in a spot where it wasn't supposed to be. Wrapping all this way sound deadener up in my screwdriver. Yeah, like I said earlier, this vehicle's done 222,000 kilometres now, so if this filter has never been changed, which it doesn't look like it has been, yeah, just consider the size of this filter. At an average of, well, since I've owned this, I forget the exact figure off the top of my head, but it's within the 10 litres per 100 range. So this poor little filter has done probably around 22,000 litres of petrol through it in its lifetime. So it's a lot of fuel for that little filter to go deal with. So it definitely doesn't hurt to do these. I would say probably every 100,000 would probably be a good figure to aim for. So it's not an overly difficult job, especially when you have the right filter to start with, but it is just kind of a little bit fiddly. I said it'd be so much nicer if these were installed underneath the car or somewhere where you didn't have to lift all the carpet and all this stuff, but you know, it is what it is. Many passenger vehicles are built like this, so that's just something we have to deal with. Oh, I nearly forgot this one. Why didn't you remind me? Where's it gone? Where did I put it? This little doohickey. I'll just go around making sure these are all tight. I might have to get the spanner onto that front one again. Now these don't need to be super tight, they're just going to bolt down flush to their so you can't really over tighten this ring, and I'll just try and struggle along with this front one. I think that's tight enough. So let's pull this little way doohickey off. What's that? It hooked itself up on there now. Alright, so that one can just go back in place, push down, just give it a little tug, make sure it's on there properly. And that's it for that side. We'll just hook our plugs back in place. The plug to nowhere. And the main plug, I can go back on in there till it clicks down. Now all this sealant's still pretty sticky, so I'm just going to deal with what's there. Slide it back in place, push it down, and that is pretty much job done apart from all the carpet. So let's get all that back in. So before I go putting all that carpet back in, I'm just going to start the car up, just make sure everything runs as it should, just while I'm at this point. So if I need to pull anything out again, it's nice and easy to do it. If you recall, I previously when I was assembling this, I had this left over. Couldn't really see where it went. Put everything back together. I've gone for a test drive, and basically under any sort of load there is just zero power at all. When I went and pulled all this apart again, the tank had pressurised up, so something's not right there. I've had a bit of a think about it. The only place I can think where this little O-ring might go is going to be, geez, I've got to do this one-handed, on this little pressure regulator. So I'm thinking it possibly goes here, do this one-handed. Possibly here, followed by that, and then she slides back in here. So I'm going to put all this back together, give it another go. If this doesn't work, then what I may do, because the only other different thing from the old filter is this little line, whether I can take that off and change it over for this one. So I'm going to stick it all back together and see what happens.
A few moments later.
Okay, so good news. That little O-ring on the pressure regulator, you need that in there. I've just come back from a test run and no problem at all. It's driving normal again. So we don't need to worry about this difference in the little hose. So that's all sweet. Just make sure that O-ring is in. Otherwise, if you don't have that in there, you get no power at all. So you may be wondering why I didn't put that O-ring back in. Well, the answer is pretty simple. The one that came out of the original filter didn't have an O-ring in there. So if you look back on the video when I pull it apart, you'll see it's just not there. So obviously something's changed within that setup from the original that needs that O-ring. So anyway, okay, so I've just done the test run there. It's all running pretty good. It did stall out a couple of times just while the fuel pressure was low. That's kind of normal and to be expected. So don't panic if it stalls, just start it up a couple of times. Give it a few revs, let it stabilise itself out, and you shouldn't have too many problems. So for this car, it's just a matter of tucking it all back under the trim and around places where it was before. So as you can see, this stuff's pretty easy to get back up under the trim. It's just a little bit fiddly, takes a lot more time than what it does pulling it out, that's for sure. Alright, final piece of the puzzle is these little, poor excuse for a tie down point, I guess, but they reckon they're only good for 20 kilos max, which it says right there. I'd certainly believe that then. And the final piece is just that spare wheel winder cover. Okay, so there you have it. That is how to change a fuel filter in a 2010 Mitsubishi Outlander. Hopefully, if you've got one of these models, you can comfortably do that from now on. Like, I've never done this one before, so a lot of this is just me figuring it out as I went through. Just be aware of just with that initial fuel filter mix-up that I had, there is this 2010 is sort of, it seems to be in a cut-off year, or changeover year should I say. So that's where there was 2 filters listed for this model. So yeah, there's some little subtle differences within that filter, mainly the length of the filter. So make sure you get the right one for your car. If you go back in my video, you'll be able to see the differences between the two. It's mostly due to one little line that comes off it. I'd probably recommend rip that filter out first, check which one you've got, and then just pick up the right one accordingly. So anyway, thank you very much for watching. It's been a long while since I've done a video, and yeah, I just haven't had much time lately, so yeah, it's good to get back into it, get into the old swing. Yeah, thanks very much for watching. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, all that stuff. You got a bit of use from this video and you want to give us a tip, super thanks button, greatly appreciated. So anyway, I'll see you on the next one. Bye guys.